of our next panel discussion, the science of happiness, what truly makes us content. We are going to explore the science behind happiness and how it ties into our mental and physical health. So we are going to get ready to deep dive into this topic and how it can play a role within healthcare. Because remember, we have to be happy to help others. We have to be content before we can help others. So, to welcome to the panel, we have Darren Rolfe, or Rolfe? Yes. Anne Sommer. We have Prithviraj S.J. That's a bit of a hard one. We also have Srihari. We also have Heather Marie Ogburn-Stokes, as well as Dr. Cindy Yambo. Please give yourselves a round of applause and our panelists and moderators and everyone as we dive into absolute happiness.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Darren Rolfe. I'm the CEO and founder of the Steps Together group. We are a group of treatment centres based in the UK where we facilitate detox, rehabilitation, aftercare and family support for people struggling with addiction and alcoholism. My own journey started 24 years ago when I put the white flag of surrender up, when I stopped using drink and drugs and gambling and acting out in many different formations through my addiction, which I'm really proud to say. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. I remain sober today through many different forms of interventions, and I'm so grateful that I've been asked to come and sit on this panel and tell you about how to stay happy, how to stay well, with the other guests that are joining me today. So that's my introduction. I'm going to hand it over, and then we can come back to some questions and answers and other formalities.
Hi, good evening, everyone. This is Prithviraj. I'm a sleep technologist from Indian Board of Sleep Medicine. So basically, we identify the sleep disorders. If anyone is coming with a sleep problem, we have a private sleep lab center where we get the patient admitted and then we identify their sleep problems and then give a report to them, and then those reports are carried to the doctor and they come back to us for a solution for whatever sleep disorders they are. So as today's topic is happiness, so I think sleep is one of the happiness. One of our audience also answered that sleep is one of the major reason for happiness. So I'll have a discussion on that. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Heather Marie Ogburn-Stokes. I am the founder and CEO of Serenity Light Recovery. We are a recovery wellness center specializing in behavioral health and addiction treatment. We have full medical detox, residential 30, 60, 90-day extended inpatient programs, and then intensive outpatient. We implement wellness into everything that we do. It's a beautiful blend between Eastern and Western medical modalities. We really embrace the holistic approach and customize individualized care, providing family support and alumni support, recovery coaching, and we were developed based on experiences, right? About 90% of our team are in recovery. I am a woman in long-term recovery, and I am forever grateful. I don't wish addiction upon anybody, right? Or trauma upon anybody, but I am grateful for my experiences that it developed who I am today, and to be able to enjoy true happiness and the freedom that comes with recovery. So I'm very honored to be here and share the stage with incredible beings. So thank you.
Srihari Prahlad, founder and CEO of Sprine Solutions. What we do in the company is help people to get away from their phones. Like right now, I have this gentleman not listening to me, but that's all right. Giving away attention to strangers behind the screen has been the biggest disease in the current generation. I founded this company out of a passion of talking to many people, many parents, and they would come to me and tell me that their child is just addicted to the phone. The fact remains that the parent is the one giving the phone to the child. And we very fondly call it as digital babysitter. Uh, in fact, there's another very crude name to it. I'm not going to get to that. But so at one point in time, I was a technology addict as well. Having grown up in a place like Bangalore in India, which is the Silicon Valley capital of India, surrounded by technology all along. I'm a serial entrepreneur. This is my 6th company. The previous company I built was on AI products. And I build companies and I sell them. And I sold that company. And in the process of doing that, you realize that you spend anywhere between 6 to 8 hours every day in front of some form of screens. And if you multiply that over the period of a year, it comes to about 120 days in a year you're spending just on screens. I just want you all to imagine what else you could do if you take that time out of your screens and just devote a small percentage of that time in building relationships. I think happiness will come to your doorstep.
Hi, I'm Dr. Cindy. I'm sorry I'm losing my voice, so I hope I will be able to finish this discussion with the voice. So I'm an integrative and functional medicine doctor. For me, I mainly focus on the root issues of my patients. So the patients are coming with symptoms, and I try to understand the root cause. So when it's related to happiness, there are many, many, many different causes of happiness. I'm looking at more at biochemistry side, more looking at the neurotransmitters that can be produced, the type of hormones they may release, the level of inflammation they have in their body. So all of these factors can affect happiness. And I will, again, come back to sleep. Sleep is so important because during sleep, we detox. The brain is going through a detox phase, and the cells of the brains are not able to function properly if they didn't go through the different stages of sleep. And this leads to lack of production of some neurotransmitters that can modulate the mood. So yeah, there are different factors that can affect happiness on a biochemistry side.
So if I may, with the permission of everyone else here, since Anna's not here and I've spoken with all of you guys, can I moderate it if that's okay with all of you? Right? So because I exactly know what to ask them if that's okay with you as well. Can we just switch places so then I can look at all of them?
Oh, okay.
If that's all right.
Sure.
Thank you very much. All right, there goes my 5 minutes that I wanted to talk. All right, so I've had the pleasure to talk to each and every one of them on this panel here, except Dr. Cindy, the other 3 of them here. So we had some very interesting questions. We sort of thought about a format, and I'm just going to go through that flow. I would like to start this off with something very heavy because I want to bring a real seriousness to our discussion here. Everybody in the audience has something to say about happiness, I'm sure. It is very personal, right? I want to direct this question to Darren. Darren, what does happiness mean to you? Because when you introduced yourself, you really spoke about certain things that I've only seen in movies, to be very honest, right? You came out of some really difficult situations in life. What did happiness mean to you back then? Were you searching for it because of which you got into it? Or were you searching for it because of which you got out of it? What does happiness mean to you?
Well, it meant to me as a child, I lost my happiness, actually, due to the fact that my caregivers, my parents, divorced, my house was broken up, and one of my parents left home. And I shut down emotionally, and that happy being, that happy child part of me was dysregulated. So I started using external things to change the way I felt. See, happiness for me is an internal feeling, but I thought I'd found it in other things. Food made me happy because it took away my thoughts, it took away my feelings. And as an addict, I progressed on to other things in my life, like drink and drugs and gambling and work and sex and money and yada, 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 yada. Until the fact of the matter is I had to change internally. I had to stop my behaviors and I had to start parenting myself because my parents couldn't parent me. I had to start loving myself. Self-care was very, very low on my list. I didn't understand about self-care. My self-esteem, my self-worth, my self-confidence was completely shattered. I didn't care about myself, which meant I got into trouble, I got arrested, I did some bad things in life.
You got arrested too.
I got arrested more than once.
More than once.
More than once.
How did they let you in?
They've only just let me. They only let me out to come and sit here for half an hour. I've got to go back.
Okay, sorry, go on.
Yeah, but to come back to your question, happiness comes from within, and happiness comes from within is when I do self-esteem and relax, and really take care of myself and nurture myself, and actually doing self-esteem and relax is like being kind to Darren. And that doesn't come naturally to someone that has self-sabotaged for pretty much half of his life. You know, it's very natural for me to go and hurt myself. No one can hurt me more than I can hurt myself. They say sticks and stones and all of that stuff. Well, give me a baseball bat, you know. But now my life is completely different. I've completely turned my life around. I can turn around to you today and say, I actually love myself. I like myself. I'm content in my own skin. I have peace of mind. I have friends. I have family. I learned to nurture my little 9-year-old that got affected by my parents not being around. I sometimes feel vulnerable and triggered, so I sit him on my knee. I tell him I love him. I tell him it's going to be okay. We're going to get through it together. I might eat a Mars bar at the same time, but that's okay. But you know what? It's a lot better than what it was. I've done so much therapy on myself. I attend regular community-based meetings. I can attend supervisions. Because working in the field of addiction, I meet like-minded people like Darren. And when I meet Darren, I see myself. And that's when I get triggered quite a lot. Sleep's a massive part of my process as well. It's so important, you know, having a good 8 hours sleep a night. It really does set you up for the next day.
I mean, that's some pretty heavy stuff, quite honestly. I think thinking about and reflecting on whatever you're saying could probably take away half of my life. Before I go on to another panelist here who also has some heavy stuff to talk about, I'd like to talk about the biochemistry, Dr. Cindy. Why and how does someone feel happiness? Because Darren spoke about sleep, and we have Prithviraj who's going to give us some insights about sleep. Someone said, sleep makes me happy. I can't find the connection because you're not experiencing anything while you're sleeping, right? You're just sleeping. You wake up, if you had a good sleep, you wake up rejuvenated, of course. Is that happiness? And how does that play into the chemistry in our bodies? I mean, does money make you happy? What is the chemistry behind that?
So I would say you need the building blocks to be happy. If you don't have the building blocks, you cannot build a house. So first, we need to make sure that the building blocks are available. So, of course, there are some biochemistry data. We try to measure, we try to understand what is going on. But the human brain is much more complex than that. In functional medicine, we are mainly trying to make sure the building blocks are there. So if you ask me, why are we happy? I would say it's because all the building blocks are there, but we need to be ready to build a house as well. So, for example, you talk about sleep. While you're sleeping, you don't feel happy. Well, it depends. Maybe if you have a nice dream, maybe you're happy. But I would say you allow your brain to detox, to the cells of your brains, the neurons, to discard the waste that is due to the normal process, the normal metabolism of the brain. So right now we are on the panel, we are talking, we are producing some waste in our neurons because we are processing information. This is totally normal. The problem is if we have a lack of sleep, there's a buildup of these waste substances and we are not able to release them. When there's a buildup, the cells are not able to function properly and to produce the neurotransmitters that can lead us to happiness, such as serotonin. Although serotonin, 90% of the serotonin although serotonin 90% is produced in the gut, maybe people don't know that, it's a neurotransmitter that is mainly produced in the gut, which makes the link between our lifestyle habits and serotonin. Serotonin is the happy hormone. It can impact the production of dopamine, but also when the sun goes down, it will help us producing melatonin, which is the hormone of sleep.
So, doctor, if I may just interject there, a quick question. If happiness has got so much to do with biochemistry, is there a pill that I can take and stay happy forever?
I wouldn't recommend that. We can make you happy for a few hours, definitely. But I think happiness is more than that because we can see the impact there, the stress. If you're stressed at work, you were talking about you're an entrepreneur and you're building several companies. I'm sure you went through periods of stress. During these periods of stress, you stimulate your adrenal glands. They are going to lead to a release of excess of cortisol, which is going to affect other glands. And all of this is linked. So I would say, for me, happiness is just, it is not a feeling that happens at a sudden, oh, I'm happy. No, we need, I usually try to make my patient understand, if you want to be happy, you need to be able to build that happiness. And to build happiness, there are many little building blocks. Neurotransmitters are just one of them, but there are many, like meditation, like exercise, physical exercise, proper diet, etc., connecting with family and friends, doing something that makes you content. So it needs also some efforts from our part to reach happiness.
Understood. I'm gonna have Anne introduce herself. She just joined. Anne, I stole your spot.
That's
but let's
A-okay.
continue with this
I
because
know
we
you-
just spoke together. So we'll continue with
I
this. Anne,
agree.
make your introduction and we'll move on.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ann Summer, P.A.N. Summer, physician assistant Ann Summer. I've been practicing medicine and operating for 26 years. About a year ago, I left full-time practice and started a coaching company. And that's what I do is I coach people, really, if I want to say, into their happiness. Most people at some point have some type of static, a lot of static here, a lot of words here. And I figured out how to erase these words. And I believe that, do you want me to just keep going? Is there a
Yeah.
question I'm supposed to be answering too?
No, not really. You can
Okay.
can go ahead and say how your profession relates to this topic. That's how we started. and then
Good,
we'll go.
good. Has anybody touched on like Western medicine medications? Because I know you had
No.
said that. So let me hit that part because I feel like sometimes we go with a lot of things too far, the pendulum goes this way, or too far, the pendulum goes that way. And functional medicine sometimes is too far this way, not just functional medicine, but like crucifying, we don't need medications. And this part sometimes is like, they don't know what's happening and what we can test over here. I am very much love the one you're with. I think there's a fusion for both. I've seen a lot of patients in the clinic that have benefited from SSRIs, for the selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. And are you using them properly? Do you have the right diagnosis? Do you have the right medication? Are they being educated on it? I think that is part of a happiness in that sense. I agree, there is the lifestyle aspect. What is really going on in their head? My definition of happiness is, can you get to the point that those words that are making you unhappy, you can either make them at peace, we can heal the drama, the trauma, we can get rid of the blame and the shame and the self-punishments, because ultimately those are the things that weigh down happiness. And if you can't deal and get you to a happiness, you're never going to be content. I did women's health OBGYN for 14 years. And so being a woman, I know how crazy it can get in there. There's a lot going on. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We have a hamster in the wheel, and sometimes it runs at 500 miles per hour. And I say to people, we just need to get it back to 100 miles per hour. We might need some medication to do that. We might need some lifestyle modifications. We might have to look into your iron, your magnesium, whatever it is. But I think you've all hit on, I'm sorry I'm late, but what I've heard is it is so multifaceted, and there isn't an easy answer, but hopefully with the 6 of us, we can give somebody something, maybe a different aspect.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Anne. And one thing that resonates very well is the pendulum analogy that you brought in. I remember having seen this analogy for all the biomarkers in the body, including blood pressure, including cholesterol levels. Everything is a bell curve. If you think that your cholesterol levels are very high, or if you think your blood pressure is very high, there's someone out there with a very low blood pressure and living normally. And it's just a bell curve, isn't it? So it's just the pendulum swinging. That was an amazing analogy.
And let me tell you one story about that because it links to you and sleep medicine, and it links to mental health, right? And depression. And you are also in that realm of helping people like launch. And I'm sorry, you do.
I'm an integrative and functional medicine doctor.
Oh, I love that. Okay, then we have Brainiac over there. I had a patient who was depressed, and he was in his 30s, probably every week was wanting to commit suicide, went into the ER. I just happened to see him as follow-up. And we were talking, and he kept kind of making like little red flags about things that were bothering him. And I asked him about his sleep. He's like, I don't sleep. I'm like, why don't you sleep? I don't know. I go, do you snore? No. Do you go to sleep? I fall asleep, I wake up. Do your legs jitter? Yeah. Do they jump like this? Yeah. Do you ever feel like you do that? Yeah. I'm like, you got restless leg. I got headaches too, Ann. I go, you know what? I bet if we could fix your restless legs, we could fix your sleep, we could fix your migraines, we could fix your depression. And let's talk about some of those thoughts in your head. 2 weeks later, he comes back. He's like, you know what? I've never felt so good. I'm like, well, let's just make sure you're not lying, right? Let's just test the water. Let's come back another 2 weeks. Let's just tweak it a little bit. He comes back. I'm like, how are your thoughts? I haven't thought about suicide once. If you fix the multi-levels, that's another level of happiness. All of these facets, all of these things.
Absolutely, absolutely. And let me move on to Heather. What does happiness mean to you, and have you found it?
I have found happiness, happy, joy, and free. For me, it's ultimate freedom from the chaotic world, from the stress of everyday life. It doesn't have to be stressful. Yes, stress can come, but it's easy to be able to brush it off when you have a complete connection within self and with my creator, with the nature, right? It is a life journey of self-healing, of self-love, self-respect. And, you know, as a little girl, I didn't know necessarily what happiness really meant, right? I was okay riding bikes and, having fun with friends, and then, but I didn't necessarily feel okay within. Always felt kind of empty, right? And then when substances, whether it be medication to treat depression, anxiety, or recreational substances, right, was introduced into my life at a very young age, it adjusted the chemicals in my brain, right? And then all of a sudden it was like, aha, I feel alive. This is great, right? It made sense, but why, right? And when you look at the science behind it and that chronic stress is our worst enemy, right? And the chronic stress, and I can go into the hormones and everything else, but you can reach a state of anhedonia where you can't feel pleasure, you can't feel happiness, right? And it doesn't have to get to that point. And And when you do, right, how do you find it? How do you shift out of it? For me, it was the substances that was able to get me out of that. And that's why it worked until it didn't. It absolutely destroyed me from the inside out. And I became someone I didn't recognize, that I didn't like, and I didn't know, until I was forced pretty much to my knees, and I had to get help. I was too terrified to ask for help, right? And then it was presented, and it became, I surrendered to it. It involved acceptance of who I am, right? And I always say, I'm not what I've done, I'm what I've overcome, right? I don't let the past dictate who I am. I am stronger because of it. And it's the ultimate freedom of comparing myself to this, right? I'm not good enough, or I'm not at that stature, I'm not at this. And I thought that's what happiness was, if I can be, like at this level. And it's not. I mean, that just ran me right into the ground, right? And technology really made it bonkers, right? But even freedom of that, you should go check out his detox box, by the way. I put my phone in for a minute, bliss, because it cut me off of that chaotic world, right? And today, because of my recovery and because of that lifestyle shift, I don't have to take a pill for this, a drink for that, even a line for that. I don't have to do that. I don't have to eat chocolate cake because I need to feel better. I get to eat it and enjoy it and embrace it for what it is, right? I can have a salad and still enjoy it because I'm nourishing and I'm healing from the inside out. I respect myself. It's freedom from judgment of others and criticism. I am who I am, and I love myself today, and I'm very grateful for that, right? And no matter what chaos is around me, I feel peace and serenity within, and nothing's going to change that. It is a daily practice for me, and my genuine smile that I first got when I, got into recovery, I'll never forget it, and I haven't lost it. Everything else can be falling apart, but you're not going to rob me for that. And I feel like, there's that innate sense of joy, right? And then happiness sometimes is tied to titles or money or stature or other things, family, right? And happiness really resonates and radiates from within.
Absolutely. I think, Heather, you touched upon so many points between what Darren was talking about and what you were talking about. There's one point that comes out mighty clear. Happiness is from within. It's not without, right? All of you, including Anne, you spoke about, Dr. Cindy spoke about it. Sleep, right? So Prithviraj, sleep, what is sleep gonna do to us? I mean, when I was young, I could sleep standing in a bus, right? So later on when I grew up, there were a lot of people that used to come and tell me, you are gifted because you can just sleep wherever you want. And I said, is that a gift? Because I equated too much of sleep to laziness, to procrastination. So I would say, well, I can sleep anywhere, no drama, right? And that continues today as well. I mean, I could just right now lie down behind, go to sleep. It's okay, right? How does that tie into, I know a lot of people have difficulty sleeping. You've done a lot of research on sleep. You're running labs back home in India, and we happen to come from the same city. How does this tie into happiness, Prithviraj?
Sleep and happiness is a bi-directional thing. If you're not happy, you will not get sleep. So when you, as Heather said about the stress, when you're stressed, you go to bed, you will not get sleep. And when you're not going to have a sleep, and if you're not properly sleeping, then your hormonal imbalance happens, which actually Cindy said, like love hormones and serotonin and oxytocin. So that will get disturbed. So sleep is something which is important, that if we have a good night's sleep of at least 7 to 8 hours, it is going to be a restorative process. So as you said, what is happening in sleep? So in sleep, for us, nothing is happening, but inside body, all the organs are functioning. So they are restoring their energy. The repairs and the tissue cells are getting repaired. So even when we fall sick, doctor tells us take a medicine and take rest or sleep. So that is like again the growth hormones and all those things. The process happens in the sleep. So if this get disturbed, your entire day will be disturbed. And even Anna was telling about her difficulty with restless leg syndrome, which is again it will keep your day more inactive, and then it will have a very long-term impact on overall health, like stress, and even you said blood pressure. You mentioned, see, even if you don't sleep, and during sleep your blood pressure should go down. So if you're stressed and your blood pressure is high, there is high chances of you getting into a cardiovascular risks. So all this put together, so I would say that sleep and happiness is bidirectional. And if you see the statistics of the happiest countries and the countries which is having a good sleep, you see Finland being a first. So there they have the happy index.
Because they sleep the most?
Yeah,
Oh,
they sleep
wow.
the most. They have their average sleeping time is around 8 hours, which is again sleep efficiency is around 85%, which is very good, and that's why they are happy. And again, when I saw 10 countries in both the list, more than 5 are there.
Right.
So happy and sleep is like bi-directional, and it keeps a good happy health. And even I had one particular patient who had a difficulty while sleeping. So he was normal. We did a sleep analysis and he was fine, all fine. But we were struggling to identify what was a problem. Then when we started questioning what was the issue, then he said before going to sleep, he used to have a call with his son. And his son used to blame whatever happened in his life to him at that night on that call. So every
Wow.
day when the day had this call, the father is completely disturbed. So he is not able to sleep. So entire night he is not sleeping, and day was affected, and he was completely sick, and he was like visiting doctors frequently and understanding what is going on. Then doctor and we just said, avoid these calls. Avoid the call before going to bed, then you will get a peaceful sleep. So this is a simple example like how sleep is going to get disturbed if we have a stressful situation or any disturbed situation before going to bed.
So then sometimes it helps to be dismissive like me. I'm so dismissive of everything. People tell me you're not even approachable. So just before I switch off, I dismiss everything. Nothing works on me and I just go to sleep.
Let me comment because we are in health, right? And from a provider's perspective, what's the definition of sleep? The definition of sleep is REM, stage 4. It's 4 stages of sleep. So it's not just sleep. It's REM 4 sleep. REM 4 sleep is restorative sleep. It's dreaming state. That is the only time your brain recuperates. Restless leg is called the sleep thief. Why? Because I might be sleeping, but my cerebellum is telling my legs to jump. The jumping is waking me up. So it is thieving my REM 4 sleep. So I just want to say the importance of the health aspect from a medical provider and from a patient is it's not about the sleep, it's REM 4 sleep, restorative sleep, dream state. Hygiene. Sleep hygiene is the definition of that. What is your sleep hygiene? He was getting bad sleep hygiene, 100%. So from a perspective of a provider, what are the things you need to look at? It's not just sleep. Are you getting REM 4 sleep? Refer over to you, right? Because that is the importance. I have severe restless leg.
Yeah.
And then when I was driving, I was falling asleep. My legs were bouncing off. It's a scary place. Studies have shown that being sleep deprived and being drunk, intoxicated, carry the same risk of driving, the same risk of getting in an accident, the same risk of something very bad happening. And those two things are very scary to be in.
Right. So that is on sleep. Now, being cognitive of the time, let me switch to another contentious topic. I was just talking to a few of them outside. How does money fit into happiness? Now, I know overall, all of you are going to say, no, money has got nothing to do with happiness. Your economic status doesn't mean anything to happiness because happiness is from within, right? But I've heard lots of views that money does affect the state of mind. And if you have enough of it, would it make you happy? I just want to quickly ask Darren, what do you think about it in your journey? Did it even impact you, or it just didn't matter at all?
When I went down to the Dubai Mall last night and spent about 300 dirhams on a pair of Gucci trainers, it was fantastic. It felt really good, to be honest with you. But in all jokes aside, it's an external thing trying to make me feel better internally. You know, it might have made me feel good for about 5 minutes, but the reality is it wore off very quickly. Yes, I need money to live. I have a wife and 3 daughters that I need to provide for. I have bills to pay. I'm a responsible man. I have a job. I'm educated, and that's my responsibility as a father and as a husband. Whether I've got £5 or £500 in my bank, as long as I've got enough to pay the bills, I'm happy with that. But money is a drug. Money did for me, it enabled me to live my addiction. It enabled me to go and score drugs, buy alcohol, gamble. And then when I didn't get it, I got it in different ways which weren't legal. So it's a problem. But now I didn't understand the value of a pound note. I didn't understand what money meant. I was very uneducated in that factor, and I've grown up very quickly around that. It's a very big subject. But I've got enough money to put food on my kids' plate, clothes on their back, and I'm very happy and content with that.
So we're probably looking at a scenario where there's a base level,
Yeah.
and as long as the base is met, adding more to it is not going to give you more happiness.
Absolutely.
Something to that point. Heather, do you have any pointers in that?
Money can't buy happiness, right? But as Darren was saying, that as long as your innate needs are met, and acceptance, lower your expectations, throw them out the window, right? It's the acceptance of the situation and how can you make the best of it, right? There was times that, sure, I would love to be able to take my kids, to this big event and a big vacation here and all this stuff. But if I get caught up on what this looks like and what that and the wish, I'm missing out on the present moment, right? And instead of wasting my time wishing and saying, oh, it would be great and that would make me happy and that would make them happy, they're missing out on that too. And I can bring it into the moment and say, you know what? How about they're 2 and 4 and they love Disney. We haven't been able to go to Disney. One, I don't have time or money to just rush off and take them, right? But we can play dress up. We can use our imagination and the joy that radiates through them. That's happiness, right? I don't have to go and get gourmet meals and all this stuff. Sure, that's nice, but that is not happiness. My 4-year-old, her favorite restaurant's Chili's. I don't know if there's Chili's out here.
Oh, there are.
Oh, perfect, right? Macaroni and cheese, Kraft. If I make it at home, not so much. It's the same thing, right?
Wow.
But Chili's, she is just, the happiest little girl, right? But it comes to finding the simple things in life and enjoying that instead of dreaming about or relating, the happiness to other things.
So there was an experiment that was conducted. There was money given to people on the streets. And one set of people were instructed to buy whatever they want for themselves. Another set of people were instructed to give that money away to someone else, right? And then everybody were asked to rate themselves after the day was done. And so in a scale, it is called subjective self assessment. And they were asked to rate between 0 to 10, how happy are you? So people who spent it on themselves, like Darren pointed, Heather pointed, they were happy for some time, but it didn't last long. The people that gave away the money to someone else came back and reported they felt happy, they felt good about it, right? There is overwhelming studies which says that people don't have the motivation to give money away. right? Unless it is just given to you and you're asked to give it away because you didn't earn it. But if you've earned it, you don't give money away, right? How many of you here would give money away to all of us in the panel here? Probably none. Right, okay, all right. You're part of the panel. Yes, did someone raise their hands? All right. So it's kind of it's a dichotomy here, right? So on one side, you're looking at giving away your money, your time, and that giving away is somehow connected to feeling good. Is it because you feel bigger in that relationship? How does that fit into it, Anne? What's your view on that?
Yeah, okay. So there is something called, is it Maslow's triangle? I forget the, right? He discovered what is the triangle of happiness. What are your basic needs? Every human needs shelter, security, love. Well, what is shelter? It's a safe place to be. Whether it's a home. Doesn't matter if it's a big home or a small home. Your basic need is shelter. What is security? Money. Money is security. Because if you can't afford to buy food, you don't have security. If you don't have money to buy clothes, even if it's one set, you don't have security. And then there's love. You can give somebody security and a shelter, but if they don't have love, they're insecure. And there's one more I'm forgetting. Does anybody know the top one? Love.
Self-actualization.
Self-esteem,
self-actualization.
Self-esteem. Okay. Well, if you don't have the bottom three, you're not going to have the top one, right? Everything that we've said boils down to that triangle. So if you're
So if you're
Can I
not
challenge that real
secure, wouldn't you be happy?
if what?
If you're not secure, can't you be happy?
Well, you can be happy. Okay. You can't answer the question because happiness is a subjective. It's really a subjective bottomed with objective. So you ask every single person in here, you're going to get different answers.
Absolutely, yeah.
So it's not even, it's not even rhetorical. It's almost like you can't answer the question. But if you go on based on science and based on human needs,
Yeah.
human needs, but that's the basis of human needs. To answer your question, give away money, keep money. If you have enough money to give away, you're going to give it away if you have those four things. If you hand somebody who's unhappy $1 bazillion, they're going to be unhappy. They're going to spend all the money because they don't know the understanding of respect for themselves and for the money. If you give somebody who's happy, has all those four things, they understand the respect of the money and what is their need and how can they help others, in my
Right.
opinion.
Thanks a lot for that, Anna. Heather, you
Can
have
I
something
add
to say.
to? So I would respectfully challenge that and change security to being resourceful. Instead of having to buy the food, can you plant the food? Can you plant the seeds and grow the food? Can you raise the animals or figure it out, right? To be able to provide security and a safe environment for your family and community. That's how they did it way back then, right?
Right.
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 And they sold the food to make money to buy other
They
things.
can barter.
Right.
Right.
And it's just not the money, it's the security of. But yet the answer is yes, 100%. You're right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So let me allow myself to go through the closing part. We only have a couple of minutes. I'm going to have to give time to Dr. Cindy as well as to Prithviraj as well. The last ending point that I would like to leave all of us here who have attended the session. Dr. Cindy, what is the top one thing or two things, if you would like to, that you feel that one should be striving towards in order to achieve happiness?
I would say without any hesitation to love yourself. Because
To love yourself.
To love yourself. If you love yourself, you will take care of your body. If you take care of your body, you have more tools to reach to happiness. And if I may add, happiness depends on the amount of a particular kind of energy that has some value for us. For some people, it's money, and they'll be very happy with money because it has a lot of value for them. But I've been working with very healthy, wealthy patients they don't have health anymore. They don't care about how much millions they have on their bank account. They just want health, and they are so sad not to have it. So it depends on, for me, money is a type of energy, and happiness is another type of energy. So how do you reach happiness through money, or how do you reach happiness without money? I think it depends on us. We can generate money, we can focus on ourselves, make sure we can build what is necessary for us to reach happiness by giving our body the necessary tools, the health to reach it.
So, just one question on that, Dr. Cindy. You said love yourself. I'm being a devil's advocate here. I know the answer to the question I'm asking, but just for everybody else, aren't you being selfish?
Absolutely not. Because when you're able to love yourself, then you can give to others, and you can love others. It's easier to provide love to people around you if you love yourself. If you hate yourself, it's much more difficult.
Wow. All right, that's profound. Prithviraj, what would you like to tell the audience here about the top one or two things to go achieve happiness?
Giving away, I feel like it is more happiness. See, I'm half of the age of everyone, or I don't know, I'm very young. I have not yet reached the stage of complete happiness, but I see happiness in smaller things.
But by saying so, you've alluded to something that happiness is somewhere there,
Yeah,
and
it
you're
is.
halfway through the journey.
Yeah, I mean, I'm halfway through the journey. So this podium is one of the things like which makes me happy, because I came with a failure startup where I got cheated, and now building this new firm, SleepMed, and I'm here. This is the second year we are running, and I'm on this stage. So this is kind of one happiness. And second happiness I see is people who give me a feedback that they had a good night's sleep. So all these years I was struggling. So you have helped me out in having a peaceful sleep now. So these kind of messages and feedbacks which I get, I feel more happy. So in fact, if I tell, I used to hate science and maths when I was in my college or schoolings. I used to hate. Now I'm here on a science podium. And now I'm loving it. So this is kind of, I mean, another happiness that I didn't expect I am going towards this. So it is like giving away. And again, I mean, learning is also a new happiness. I feel myself like I keep continuously learning, and I've learned a lot with this event and even the panelist over here. So it's still like my happiness is still, it is not end, but it is going to, I'll going to find it soon.
It's a journey. It's a journey.
That's an unfiltered version, very nicely put. For the other three panelists here, it's the same question. I just want to leave the audience. What do you think is the top? We're done with our time here, but if you can be brief and go through with it, let's start with Anne.
Well, top happiness is who are you? Figure out who you are. Do the work. Find out somebody that can help you figure that out, whether it's Western medicine, functional medicine, Eastern medicine, whether it's just self-improvement. That's what happiness is.
Excellent. Who you are. Darren.
I would second that. I didn't know who I was for 23 years of my life. It's taken me 24 years to unpack so many feelings that I suppressed for so many years. I now know who I am, what I like, what I don't like. I'm content. I've got peace of mind. And for that, I'm so grateful. And to see my wife and my kids healthy and happy, that's the second part. And my two dogs, they're just as important.
Just say, what kind of dogs are they?
They're Bernese mountain dogs.
Oh, fantastic. Heather.
So for me, it's mind, body, and spirit. It has to be the complete whole self. And when I practice that every single day, like I said, it's a journey, then I become my greatest authentic self. And it's that deep connection within and to my creator and to each other. And that's happiness for me.
Excellent. I'd like to conclude this with a couple of statements. A lot of what I heard here fits very well into, there is a mathematical equation for happiness, right? There's something called positive psychology, father of positive psychology, Dr. Martin. You can look him up. The happiness equation goes H equals S plus C plus V. The H part there is happiness. That equals S stands for a set point, which Dr. Cindy alluded to. All of us are predisposed genetically to come with a certain set point to experience happiness. Right? Now, whether you like it or not, we can debate on that topic. The second part is C, which is conditions of life. Conditions of life is talking about health, wealth, relationships. All of this gives the C part, right? And then the last is V. V is voluntary actions. And we spoke about giving away as being one of it. So if you combine all these three, apparently, it increases H, which is happiness. And with that, I would like to thank each and every panelist here to providing their views. There have been extremely good experiences. I've learned a lot. Thank you very much. And thanks a lot for attending the session.